Hey everybody, Agent of Doubt here, world's worst SJW, and today I'm once again wearing my Raven J Appreciation t-shirt. Link in the description box. Go interact with Raven J on a very perilous journey. Anyways, it's 2023. Happy New Year's, everybody. I decided I would recap my journey through 2022 and go over why it was that I did not meet my goal of making a six-figure salary, right? And so I went to, grad school, got out with my degree, and got some licensure and all that. And so I'm in the working world, right? And I was like, I need a six-figure salary or else I'm not going to have all the toys that I want. First and foremost, a fucking house. I feel like I'm trapped like millennials are, that the prices of houses keep on being dangled like a carrot that I'm never going to get to, So, yeah, I could buy a crappy home or a home outside of the city where I work, but I feel like I've worked so hard in my life, I deserve to live in the same city or at least metro area where I work, and that is Denver. And we have too much of Californians transplanting to Denver in order to find cheaper places to live after they sold their places, which apparently are built on gold. So they come here, they've got all sorts of money to buy us out with money over asking price. I'm like, well, if I'm gonna contend with that, I've got to be making some big money, right? So, how did I not make my goal? And I missed my goal by almost 10 grand. So it wasn't out of reach all the way. I mean, I almost made it, and I feel like there were certain things that contributed to it. Some of those are going to be like a little look behind the curtain at therapists and how we're money-grubbing bastards just preying on people who have problems, If that's your kick, then here we go. Let's see. So the number one reason why I did not make my goal, it's because for the first half of the year, I was working in community mental health, and agencies in community mental health don't pay that well. And I feel it every time I hear my current clients tell me that they just got a new job and they tell me what their pay is. I can't get into specifics, of course, because of confidentiality, but McDonald's is hiring for $20 an hour in my town. Let's see. With no secondary education, no high school diploma, no GED, and just basic elementary education, and without the ability to read anything, to do any computer paperwork, no skills whatsoever, just unskilled labor, and we'll say moving a wheelbarrow around a construction site all day. You could get, $25, $30 an hour. Just walk up to any construction site right now and do construction cleanup. Right? Now, I'm not saying that it's a job that I'd want. In fact, it's very cold right now. We've been having some of the coldest days ever with this polar vortex, bomb cyclone, whatever thing that just hit us recently. So, I imagine that's a crappy job to have out in the freezing cold. And then, summers keep on getting warmer, working outside. It's not fun. It's manual labor, but, $25, $30 an hour. And, when I was working that community mental health job, I was making about that. There are people walk on to construction sites right now who are making what I was making at the beginning of the year. Now, part of that is due to, inflation and wages going up a little bit throughout the year, but I'm really feeling this sandwiching of what we would call the middle class. I don't even like that term, but basically skilled labor has flatlined in its pay, and unskilled labor is going up a little bit. Denver's minimum wage just went up today to $17.29, I think, an hour for anything within the city and county of Denver, not the surrounding cities in the metro area. They still don't have to pay that, but really, even that is too little too late, because nobody works for less than 20 anywhere. You'd have to look very hard in Denver to find any job paying less than 20, because people can't live with all these inflating prices on everything for less than that. But all that said, at the beginning of this year until April and May, I was working in a community mental health job, and it wasn't paying me very well. And then I was also working just a contract position, just doing a couple groups here and there. And in that, first 4 months of the year, I made about $8,000 doing that. And that was supplementing my income, but I quit all of that and went to work for a more serious agency where I'm getting a lot better pay, but it's still not the best pay. There's still room to grow on that, and I still have room to grow with licensure and whatnot. It's one of my goals for this year, 2023, is to get another mental health license so that I can bill for more shit and do to other agencies that wouldn't take me with the certain credentials that I have now, but will with those additional credentials. So things are looking up, but reason number one that my pay was not where I wanted it to be this year in the six figures was because I spent a couple months working community mental health, getting paid not very well. In fact, the pay for people with grad school educations and licensure from the state after a couple years of being looked over by other clinicians and having all those hours signed off, for experienced credentialed clinicians with education and licenses, community mental health still pays shit. And it's funny when you read the ads that they put out, because they're like, we require so many years of experience, and we want you to have your degree and at least one of these licenses. And I'm like, and then you want to pay about what it would pay to work at McDonald's flipping burgers. What the fuck? You can't expect people to go into tens of thousands of dollars, if not $100,000 or more in student loan debt, and then pay them the same as they would have had if they just worked a, no skill entry level position somewhere else. So I don't work there anymore. Let's see. Reason number two for my missing the mark. So I'm in a niche where the no-show rate is higher than normal. Now, I speak with a bunch of other clinicians all the time about how things are going in their neck of the woods, and usually there is a no-show rate of about 10%. right? And sometimes even with their no-shows, they're not getting compensated anything, because they'll have things baked into the care agreements or contracts that, let's say you have a client, part of the upfront paperwork they sign is, if they don't give you 48 hours notice that they're canceling a session, then they have to pay something. And it might not be the full session amount. It might be the full session amount. You have to look at the contract for each and every person. But for me, I get nothing if the clients don't show up. And it doesn't matter if it's day of notice. It doesn't matter if they just no call, no show. I get zero. They are not charged anything. And that's because I still work for agencies that deal with addictions and have justice-mandated clients. And usually all of that can be traced back to government funding as the payer eventually. Like the government giving the state probation office a grant of so much from Medicaid funds to handle treatment for people who are on paper, on probation or parole, and then giving the federal government the same thing. It's like it all ties back to Medicaid rules, and Medicaid refuses to pay for no-shows because the clients who are usually on Medicaid just tend towards being the clients that cannot show up to their appointments on time or at all, more than clients who are in higher tax bracket levels. So, usually if you have an addiction problem, you might have hit rock bottom. You're trying to scrape your way out of it, and you're not at your peak. We'll say you might relapse and no call, no show just because you relapsed. For justice mandated clients, some of them actually can't go into specifics, but some of them become justice involved all over again. Sometimes their adjudications aren't over because they get visited once again by the popos, and they have other reasons why they just don't show up. And then I find out later, oh, you had a date for a hearing, a court date, and you just learned about it a couple days before, but you didn't bother to tell moi because you don't respect my time because you were mandated to see me anyway. By the way, just the mandate of, say, a judge or a probation officer or a case manager telling somebody that they have to go to therapy, that puts them in a different category of people as well, because they're not going because they want it. They're going because they have to. Right? So that adds to the no-show rate because they find reasons to not come to therapy. Right? And because they're not getting charged for the no-shows in the end, and they don't even pay that much for the sessions that they do as well, their co-pays are usually, something less than you could make in an hour, they just don't have the buy-in to the therapy. Now, this isn't everybody. Half of the clients that I see in this niche really truly know that they need therapy and they want therapy, and it's working out well for them. But the other half, they give me a hard time in this niche. So my no-show rate usually hovers around 20%, whereas other people in other genres of therapy, other tax brackets being their clients, they usually have around 10% no-shows as a norm. And usually they get a lot more notice on those no-shows, so they're still not paid for that hour because it'll be outside of the 2 or 3 days that was in the initial contract, because those people are more apt to look after their money And so if they can give notice to be able to not have to spend money for your therapist not doing anything, they're likely to give you that notice. But it makes it easier to plan out your day being given that notice, but it's still 10% of your possible income going away. And that's a look behind the scenes at what it takes to be paid as a therapist. But before and after this Christmas, for the week before and the week after, put it both together, I had a no-show rate of about 44%. It's Christmas time. People will go on vacation and not tell you. People are getting sick because of, the cold weather brings people staying inside and passing around germs. There was one day where I just did not see anyone because it was so damn cold outside that I canceled because negative 50 wind chill with clients that are justice mandated and usually have to ride a bus. And I was like, I'm not going to have people standing at a bus stop with no enclosure and negative 50 wind chill. Like literally negative 50 wind chill in under 0 degree temperatures, and then showing up with frostbite because I needed to make a buck. So that day, I didn't see anyone. But, there's been 10 inches of snow, where it was surprise, it's snowing so bad that, half of your clients aren't going to show up. Stuff that I can't really account for, I can't really plan for. But on top of that, just clients that are so much more likely to take the opportunity to no-show when it presents itself because they don't want to be there anyway. So that was number 2 reason, high no-show rate. Number 3 reason, I did not meet my goals for getting into 6 figures in 2022. I took some time off. And as a contract therapist, I left that community mental health job where I actually had some paid vacation. When I made the switch last spring, I got into better pay, but I also do not get paid if I take a vacation. I basically have to, weigh the pros and cons of that. Do I make so much more money that it's actually worth it to work the kind of jobs I'm working now? Yes it is. But I still had to decide what days I wanted to take off for vacation. I took the week of Thanksgiving because I figured nobody's going to show up on Thanksgiving Day, and nobody's going to show up on Black Friday either because it's the day after Thanksgiving. Everyone figures that everything is shut down, even if I'm willing to work. People are just not going to show up those days. So those 2 days were already out. And I figured of every day of the week for the entire year, that week having 2 days already out of it, just taking the other 3 would make it the cheapest vacation week for me to take. So now, if I'm going to stay contract as a therapist, just every Thanksgiving I'm going to take off. That'll be my vacation time. Vacation or staycation, I don't care. It's the cheapest of all the weeks to take because it's only 3 days gone. So I went to go see my family in Wisconsin, and it was because my stepmother's not long for this world, and I really wanted to see her before she left. And took a nice little road trip, and I did that with my new truck, and I enjoyed that time. But to take that time off lost me a bit of money. And if we're looking at all of these different reasons that I'm telling you that I didn't make the goal and how I was within about 10 grand of making the goal, this actually did account for about a third of the way to the goal that I had left. So if I had worked those 3 days, I might have made, a third of the way that I needed left to go. So it counts. It really does. And every other day that I've had off has been like a surprise day off, except Labor Day, which I intentionally took off because people just don't show up on government holidays, even if you're not having a government holiday because you're not the government, and they don't work for the government themselves. They still expect that if it's Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, that you're not working and that you're not going to be there. So, or they pretend like they didn't understand, even though you told them that you'd be there, just so that they can get the day off because they don't have to pay for it anyway because you're in justice mandated and addiction counseling. So, there's that. Sometimes there's a confluence of these reasons that go together. And the last reason why I didn't make it to my goal, the very last invoice that I did for a good chunk of money, it was dated on the 31st, which was, in 2022, but the pay that would come from that invoice going into my checking account would be after the 31st for all of those days that I worked up to the 31st. And so at least 5 days time it'll take to pay out, right? Well, because the pay doesn't happen until January, then technically that entire period of pay counts for income towards next year's taxes for 2023, even though the stuff that I worked was in 2022. I understand that working in a few other types of jobs that's not the case, but when you're doing contract as a self-employed person, that's the way it works. So that's another reason why I didn't make it to my goal. Those numbers will just help me make it to my goal for 2023. So I'm going to raise the bar a little bit for 2023 to be in line with one of my goals, which is home ownership of a place that I can be proud of. And so I'm going to say I need to make about $125,000. So, I didn't make my goal this year, but, shoot for the stars and you'll at least hit something high. And best wishes to all of you in 2023, and may all your billing invoices be reimbursed without hassles. And hopefully your ikigai, your reason for living, your purpose isn't all about money, but that's the one goal for me that I feel like I fell shortest on. And you can't win them all. Just try again.